How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to continue our option A implementation by looking at it from iOS XR. So we're basically going to do the exact same config, but from iOS XR's perspective, and then take a look at how the network then views what's happening and the operations. So let's go ahead and dive in. So we're going to go and get this party started here momentarily. There we go. So the configuration on XR is very similar to that of iOS. The only difference is it's this XR syntax. That's pretty much all we have to worry about. There's not much more to it than that. So let's go ahead and jump over to XR11. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And we will go to interface gig 0000002. We'll no shut the interface. And then go to .101. And encapsulation.1q101. But for right now, I actually had to create the VRF. So I'm going to type in VRF C1. We're going to type in address family IPv4 unicast, import route target value, and I'm going to specify it's going to be 1:1, 1:2, but I don't want to import the other ASPR. You might say, well, why not? Well, I don't want to have route leaking. I don't want to have a potential routing loop. So if we were to look at CSR5 and do a show run VRF, if you look here, we are not bringing in router 11's route target value. And the reason for that is because, let's whiteboard this for a minute. We don't want to have traffic come across the wire from 6 this way and then get propagated to the route reflector and then route reflected back down to here and go that way. Now, there is a VPN v4 and v6 adjacency between or pairing between the route reflector and the ASPR. But what we are trying to do is restrict the importation of routes from CSR5. We don't want routes from CSR5. We only want routes from CSR1 and CSR2. So that in the event that, when we get the adjacency, the pairing up between these two guys, and we have that bidirectional communication, and we have the bidirectional communication here, that the provider edge routers will only know what's been propagated, and then we'll be able to make the modification at that point. If we import this to here and bidirectionally on the ASPRs, if the ASPRs are going to import the routes of the other ASPRs, that could be a bad day, because then you could potentially get a routing loop. We don't want a routing loop. Routing loops are a bad thing, because then I have to go in there and add in filters and say, okay, well, I don't want to propagate that. We'll take a look at that as a potential scenario down the road, where we might have to do some filtering, where we don't want to we don't want to propagate or learn in a particular prefix from a inbound from a neighbor. We only want to learn in specific things from specific neighbors. So we'll take a look at exactly how that comes into play and go from there. But for right now, that's where we are at in terms of our setup. So let's go ahead and continue this setup and get this operational. So back on 11. We have that, and that's all we want to import. We're going to export route target, and it's going to be 1:11. That's all we need to type in. And we do a show config. I'm going to take these few lines of config right here, hit the up arrow, and go to the IPv6 unicast address family. Copy and paste that, and now we can go to interface interface gig 00002.101 VRF C1, and then IP address is going to be 101.11.12.11/24, and IPv6 address 101:11:12:11/64. Okay, let's go ahead and commit that. So what we're going to go do now is just validate that that configuration took which it did, which is good. And if we go and do show BGP VPN v4 unicast, we should be receiving prefixes now, which is good because now we also know that the VRF importation is working the way that it's supposed to. So now I'm going to go just do the same configuration on XR12. So do show run VRF and basically just mimic what we did here. So on 12, go ahead and log in. Go to global config, VRF C1, and then the address family IPv4 unicast, and then the import route target value is going to be 2:8 and 2:16, but the export is going to be 2:12, and show config. And we're just going to, again, like we did before, just copy and paste this over to the other side. Go to IPv6 and do the exact same thing. Copy, paste, and then we'll go to, that's the VRF configuration. So we'll type in interface gig 00002, no shut it. Go to .101, encapsulation .1q 101 VRF C1. IP address of 101.11.12.12/24, IPv6 address of 101:11:12:12/64, and commit. So now that we have that in play, the next step for us to go do is do ping VRF C1 101.11.12.11. Make sure I can ping the remote end. There it goes. So the ping does work, and that's important to make sure that we have that. So now that we have the IPv4, we'll go ahead and ping, but I'm just going to go ahead and swap out the decimals for colons, and that should be all that's necessary there, which is good. So now that I have direct ping capability inside the VRF, that's a really good sign. So now all I have to effectively do is go in and configure the BGP peering between them and make sure that I believe I've already set up the PE routers to import that particular route target that the ASBR for XR are going to be propagating. Let's just validate that real quick. So for example, CSR2, if we do a show run VRF, when we look in here, we should be receiving, we're importing 16. What is 16? I think I might have goofed up that config. Oh, I see. It's not supposed to be 16. This is supposed to be 11. So let me go up here. I'm glad I checked. But basically the idea now is to pull this out and say no to that, but we'll do this and then do an 11. So we have that. We'll just validate that on CSR1 as well. We'll do a show run VRF. And okay, that one's good. And so on CSR8, it's the same thing. Let's just validate him real quick. Show run VRF. And so 16, 12, 6, perfect. And then on XR16, we'll validate the show run VRF. And so we're going to import 2:12. Perfect. So it's important that that's there, because if it's not there, then you won't be able to receive the prefixes. So let's go to 11, and we're going to go to router BGP 1, VRF C1, and underneath here we have to specify a route distinguisher. So here we're going to type in RD is going to be 1:1, address family IPv4 unicast, and IPv6 unicast. Exit out and type in neighbor of 101.11.12.12, remote AS of 2, and then we have to specify a route, or I'm sorry, address family IPv4 unicast, a route policy, and we're going to just call this RPL eBGP peer. Whoops, I meant to We're just type in pass and exit out. Show config. If that does happen, simply just go underneath here again and I'll go to this point right here and route dash policy is going to be RPL eBGP peer and then in and out. And then I'm going to exit out a couple levels and type in neighbor of 101:11:12:12 remote AS of 2 address family IPv6 unicast, and then I'll grab show config. I'll grab these two lines right here and do that. So now if we do a quick show config, the beautiful thing about XR is because we can literally just copy and paste this config onto XR12 respectively. And I'm going to go ahead and commit that. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab Notepad and plot this in here. So it'll just be 11 and 11 respectively. And then do this, go back over to 12 and copy paste. And we'll go ahead and commit. So show config failed. Oh, abort. That's my fault. And okay, so that's actually a good point. So make sure that you have the correct configuration in play. That could have been a bad day. So this will be that guy. So make sure you swap out the autonomous system and the RD value and the local autonomous system number. That would be a bad day. So it's like, nope, no soup for you. Copy, paste, and commit. Show config failed. Why did it fail this time? Oh. Okay, one of these days I'll get it right. This is supposed to be BGP 2. So let's try this one more time. Eventually I'll get it right. Hopefully. There we go. So with that being said, the peering should come up here momentarily. When the BGP peering forms, we should be able to exchange routing information with each other and all that good stuff. So hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. So show BGP VPN v4 VRF C1. Oh, there it goes. It was just taking way too long for my liking. Show BGP VRF C1 VPN v4 show BGP VPN v4 unicast VRF C1 neighbors. Okay, I am receiving the routes, which is what I want to see. So that's working. Now if I go to CSR, if I go to route reflector 1, for example, and I do a show BGP VPN v4 unicast all, I should see equal cost routes for 25 and 28, which means I'm learning it in both ways, but I'm going to prefer 5 due to the fact that we are looking at it from the perspective of normal BGP routing policies, which means that 5 has been up longer, so and it's an eBGP learned route, so I'm going to prefer CSR 5 over XR 11. So now if I go down to router 1, for example, and I do show BGP VPN v4 unicast all, I'm still only going to see the traffic coming from 5. Now there are ways around this to modify this. We can throw in things like best external, we can throw in BGP add path, things like that. Those are going to be happening down the road. I'm going to look at the core competencies first, and then we're going to add in more complexity down the road to optimize the operations and things like that. But for right now, this is good to go. So now that we have that in play, we can go and just validate that the config is working on R22 as well. So, or I'm sorry, route reflector 2. Go ahead and log in. Show BGP VPN v4 unicast. And we are learning those prefixes inbound, which is good. So we're learning 19 and 22 respectively. and we're choosing to go via 6 due to the amount of time that the traffic has been, that peering has been up. Same thing with VPN B6. So currently everything that we need to have up and running is there. So at this point we are squared away, good to go. Now we could add in additional connections, but for right now, where we are at is good. So you might say, well, you have other connections. You have this connection here, and you have this connection going this way. You're right, I do. But for right now, I'm good to go with the configuration. So I can go and do traffic engineering now and things like that, which is what we're going to be taking a look at in the upcoming video and stuff like that. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me. And until next time, take it easy.